The Apostle John's legal brief to the Sanhedrin of Israel, Part 1. The hidden and legal proof that the Messiah of the first century was and is Israel's expected Messiah. Hello everyone, this is Bob Petrie and I'm the author of a book entitled The True Messiah, Who Is He? And in that book I bring up some very interesting questions and some very interesting facts which we will be presenting off and on during this series on the true Messiah. Who is he? Has the world been told the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth about the Messiah in the Greek scriptures? We believe this information will change your whole perspective about the Messiah who came to the earth 2,000 years ago. So let's begin this Part 1 series on the legal brief given to the Sanhedrin during the 1st century A.D. to prove who the Messiah really was. So some beginning questions for us would be these. Where should we begin in the Bible to discover who the Messiah really is? What does "in the beginning" mean? What does the word mean? Which apostle gives us this critical information, and how does he do it? What is the evangel or gospel of this apostle, and why is it different from the synoptic evangels? Well, in this series we're going to give an overview of some of these questions and give you answers that I think will blow you away once you see it with your own eye. But the overall overview and principle behind and purpose behind this series is this: to show that the Evangel of the Apostle John is in fact a legal brief written to the Supreme Court of Israel, the Sanhedrin, to show that John's Evangel gives the legal precedents from the law of Israel, called by many the law of Moses, that prove the Messiah of the 1st century A.D. is their Messiah, and beyond any shadow of doubt or reasonable doubt. This information is hidden within the Hebrew language itself, and that language itself is the real and final proof. By comparing John's legal statements with the first 4 verses of the law, one discovers the truth about the real Messiah. So what is then the purpose of this whole presentation series? First, to look closely at what the Apostle John was inspired to write, not what people think he wrote. And 2, to show how John presents witnesses as required by the law to present his case to the court of Israel. Number 3, to show what John saw within the law itself in order to present his case. And I think you're going to be surprised, because you're going to be able to see with your own eyes what John saw, and we're not talking just about the meaning of words and sentences. And 4, to visually show what has been overlooked for millennia. You can see it with your own eyes when it's pointed out to you, and we're going to do just that. So what is the present situation in the world reference the Messiah of the so-called New Testament? Well, today the world is confused, very confused, over the so-called synoptic gospel accounts versus John's so-called gospel. Today the world does not understand what John meant in the first verses of chapter 1 of his Evangel, and in particular verse 1 and verse 2. Today the Christian world has no idea of how and why the law proves the Messiah's reality, and in a way that has never been shown before. And today, the Jewish world, the world that should have accepted the Messiah in the very beginning, that world refuses to accept the Messiah of the New Testament because it has never seen it, or it won't admit this proof publicly. So let's look at two beginning sources to whet your appetite for what's coming. And believe me, what is coming in the next series and the one after that and the one after that is going to really open your eyes to something you have never, ever seen or understood before about the New Testament or the New Covenant Messiah. Quote, in the beginning, there's that expression I asked about before. What does in the beginning mean? And was the Word. There's the Word. What does the Word mean? And the Word was with or towards Yahweh. And the Word was Elohim. The same was in the beginning with Yahweh. Now there has been many things incorrectly said about this particular verse 1 and verse 2 in the Evangel of John. For instance, we use here the word was with or towards Yahweh. Why would we say such a thing when if you look at the standard King James Version and other English translations, it doesn't say that? And the word was Elohim. Why do we say that instead of the standard translation? And the same was in the beginning with Yahweh. There it is again. Why do we use those instead of the standard translation? Well, you will see, beginning in series 2 and 3, not series, but part 2 and 3 of this series on the true Messiah. Who is he? Second source, in the beginning Elohim created the heavens and the earth. Genesis 1, verse 1. And now notice something here. John 1:4, Genesis 1:4. Isn't it interesting? Even though the breaking up of the scriptures into chapter and verse was not done until way late in history, it just so happens that the same topic is mentioned in verse 4 of both chapter 1s. Listen to this. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. And Elohim saw the light, that it was good. So let's close part 1 with this. And Yahshua spoke to them again, saying, I am the light of the world. The one who follows me shall never walk in darkness, but shall have the light of life. John 8:12. Let me read that quickly again. I am the light of the world. The one who follows me shall never walk in darkness, but shall have the light of life. So, beginning in part 2 of this series, we're going to start talking about and explaining to you what it means for real when it says in the beginning, and what it means when it says the Word, and what it means when it says the light. How does all of this relate? Well, let me tell you. In part 2 and on, we are going to shed light on those very questions. And if you'd like to contact us, my mail is aliuniv@cox.net, aliuniv@cox.net, snail mail, P.O. Box 1645, Tucson, Arizona 85702, and take a look at our website. Thanks for watching. I hope you are waiting for and expecting to see some real exciting and mind-changing information in part 2 of the True Messiah. Who is he?